Welcome back, everyone, to another edition of Combat Corner, powered by Come On Now, the podcast. I'm your host, Rudy Rodriguez Shomot. If you haven't done so yet, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment. Let us know your thoughts. Man, I'm excited today because, my goodness, I got to witness one savage fight it's a week ago on this past Saturday where we saw a new champion crowned in the light heavyweight division. I have with me today the one and only Josh D. Day Dyer in the building. Welcome aboard, Josh. Thank you for jumping on with me today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. It's good to be here. Just head out to jump on this painting project in about an hour or so. But yeah, no, I'm happy to be here. Hope you're having yourself a good day. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you fine, man. We had a little bit of technical difficulties. Yeah, I appreciate you coming on, man. I'm excited to have a conversation with you because, you know, I've watched all your fights. I've seen the fights from when you had basic shorts with no logos, nothing, no gold trim. I mean, talk about that road, and we'll get into the fight for sure. But talk about that road from when you first started to now and what that's been like for you.
Yeah, it's definitely been a fun adventure. Whenever I first got into bare knuckle fighting championships, I didn't even think I really deserved to be there. I barely scooped up a manager, and he flew my team down there to fight, and then of course he never showed up, and then he unfortunately there was some miscommunication about what I was getting paid and who I was fighting, and I'd asked him, I was like, I heard Jared Warren was like a world kickboxing champion as an amateur, so I was just like, is that true? And he's like, oh no, he's not a champion. And yeah, so anyway, he's like, I'll have your shorts ready, your banner ready. You just show up, I'll take care of everything. And I got there. He never showed up. He was a fraud. And but he did get me in, which was cool. But then, he lied about how much money I was making, didn't have my shorts ready, didn't have my banner ready, didn't have anything ready. And so I was just like, all right, we're going to wing this one. So I ended up running to Target, and they had, nothing fight gear related that I could possibly find. I had no time to do this. I could find that looked these stupid board shorts with like pockets in them, and I was like, "Damn it!" I'm like, "All right, well now I have to win." I'm like, if I get in there against this dude, I'm gonna have to win in these shorts. And it went pretty smooth. Ended up catching the win, and it's fun, to like work your way up whenever you were just a nobody. I was a 500 fighter at best, and I didn't really think there was like much hope of being the best, but like I had the mindset that maybe I could, so I was like, we'll give it a shot, and I just kept doing good and better and better and better, and got humbled by Hunts, and then changed my style, and that's what actually kind of morphed me into the fighter I am now, is by getting my butt smoked by that dude so hard. He taught me that I can't just win with toughness and grit in every fight. So then I had to go, and I like locked myself in my basement for a year, got out a pen and paper, and I just started studying all the best fighters in history. And I started taking one of their best. I try to find the best thing they do and write it down, and then go to the next fighter and find the best thing they do. It's like, all right, Dominic Cruz, footwork. Mike Tyson, the shuffle. You work, Muhammad Ali, jab. And then you just keep working your way around until I built myself a brand new style, and I practiced all of these, and I blended them together. And now I feel like it just kind of all came together, and it wasn't a traditional, I'm the best in the world. I know it. I had all the help, all the money, all the support, everything. Like I had very little, and I just wanted to, along the way, I developed mental toughness, and I was like, I'm going to show people that you can just do this shit. You manifest a little something, something. Think about it every day. Try to get yourself 1% closer, and every day, and then pretty soon, you're in a year, you're making massive leaps forward. So I was like, let's get it.
When have you ever told that story before about the shorts?
I don't know, maybe a couple of times, but you know,
That's wild.
uh, yeah, it's just like one of the. I've had so much crazy shit happening, you know, in the fighting career world that that's not even close, bro. That's like
Mhm.
I forget about that like it's yesterday's news. We've gone through a lot of stuff together.
Watching you fight, when you mentioned Dominic Cruz, you mentioned Mike Tyson, you mentioned all these fights. I can actually see it now in how you fight. When you think about it, when I can see that now because of
Oh,
how your footwork is and the way you bounce around. The fact that you mentioned those specific fighters, I know those fighters. I've seen those fighters many, many times, and so it all actually comes together when you watch it. When I'm watching you fight, when I think about watching all your fights,
thank
which
you. Yeah,
fighter?
that's a huge
Yeah,
comp, and that's how I know you're. You're a real fight
Which
fan.
yeah, yeah, I mean, yeah, I appreciate that because that's yeah, I'm like, because you do have great movement, you do bounce around a lot. That's Dominic Cruz all day. I mean, I mean, he's moving all around. I mean, like
Yeah.
I remember watching Cruz in MMA for many years, especially in his younger days. Where it was like, my God, does this guy ever stay still? He's just bounce. That takes lots of cardio. How much cardio work do you put in? Because that's a lot of cardio, especially as a bigger guy.
Up until recently, not that much. I've just been, I watch Dominic Cruz fights all night long, and I'll look at his movements, the shuffles, his switch stances. He's always moving, confusing, stepping off the center line, and I'm like, that messes with people. And but he's only like a 135 or 140 and 150 at times. And I'm like, so it's a lot harder to do that at 185. But I'll tell you what, the concept still works. And yeah, you may be as fast and you may get more tired doing it, but it's still effective. So
Mhm.
instead of being like Cruz and go into decision, just be like Cruz, but end it. So I'm like, I'm just gonna be Cruz with power. It sounds like a fantastic combination. So I combined a lot of things together. But as far as cardio goes, I've never really trained a lot of cardio. I like to hit people really hard, and I want to be tricky, and I want to work footwork drills, like these guys. I spend all my cardio is me doing Dominic Cruz footwork drills, cutting the angle, switching the stances, working all the best counters I could find, and then just doing those over and over and over. And I just do that in the ring, and it works pretty freaking good. So I've been sticking with that.
So it's been 9 days. How you feeling? It's been 9 days since you became the champion of the world
Man,
in in a bloody fight. I mean, I'll ask you about, but how does it feel right now when you're looking at 9 days ago, and now you're going to a painting job? You're a worker, man. You
yeah,
work. You
yeah.
put in
So
that work.
stop, brother. I don't stop. I own a painting business, and it is kind of tough around when I get out of a fight because typically I smash my right hand pretty hard. I try to hurt people with it, and yeah,
Mhm.
at the moment my right hand is still a little swollen. I can't quite do much with it, but I'm gonna go put a paintbrush in it, see if I can loosen it up a little bit. I was lucky enough not to break this one, so I'm very familiar with swollen hands. So I'm just like, all right, it's been about a week. We'll let that go. My rib hurts super bad. He caught me with a shot to the ribs with his left at least once or twice. And yeah, every morning when I lean up to get out of bed, I'm just like, oh, dang you, Mike Richman. I'm like, God, you got me good. You got me real good. I try not to let anybody know it hurt me, but if that dude would have popped me with like 4 or 5 more of those, that could have been a different story. I mean, because it's yeah, 9 days later, and I am still feeling this every day. Anytime I flex my abs or sneeze or cough, that rib is still feeling it. And I'm like, Mike, you little body snatcher, you. Yeah, that guy's got some crazy body shots.
I heard you on the Mike and Miss show when you mentioned that rib shot, and if he caught you with, I mean this, but that's what this fight game is for BKFC. Is like you gotta keep that poker face on, where it's like, oh shit, that hurt.
Yeah.
Talk about that fight and the toughness of that guy because it looked like old school kickboxer Tong Po dipping his knuckles into glass because those cuts across his head were like I don't even know how you can cut someone that way. And when I looked at those cuts, this man's gonna keep fighting. He had a massive hematoma on this side of his head, and I mean, when you're fighting a guy like that who just is like a zombie and just keeps on coming forward and won't ever stop. I mean, your hand's swollen. You're like, what the hell do I got to do to put this man out? And I know the doctors stopped. They had to stop it. I mean, he was busted up, you know. But what are your thoughts on a guy like that?
It's never fun. I'll tell you right now. Mike Richman, I knew he was tough, but I did. He ended up being about 10 times tougher than I thought he was going to be. Maybe 20 times tougher. I mean,
Mm,
I hit shots on that dude that in my last 30 fights have laid like if I hit them with it, like 98% of them dropped. And I hit Mike with those all night long. And I only got him down once. I was like, dude, and that was a hard shot I hit him with,
yeah.
but it wasn't the hardest. I'd smash him in the face with some mega hard punches. And yeah, it was going crazy. Those cuts were super unfortunate. I was like, what the hell's going on? I'm like, I'm not over here dipping my hands in oil and glass and shit. I'm like, how did that happen? And then when I got a chance to look at the picture later, what it looked like was I just like punched holes in his head. Like I was like, this is insane. Like it looked like it was just like a dent split. I was like,
Yeah.
damn, maybe I am hitting pretty hard right now. So I'll give Austin Peterson a huge shout out for building the strength and cardio and freaking workout routine that just helped me dominate. But yeah, I'll tell you what though, I did go and hang out with him at Mall of America yesterday. Yeah, I had my family in his hometown, so he ended up rolling through. You can't even tell this guy was in a fight. This guy heals like Wolverine, and I'm not just saying that. Like he showed up with his glasses on. He's like, "Yeah, I got the stitches. I'm just wearing glasses." I'm like, "Bro, I know." I'm like, "I fought Lorenzo Hunt. I wore glasses for 6 months. I get it." And then he pulls them down, and like they had stitched everything up. Like all the stitches were
Yeah.
basically gone at this point.
Sure.
And
Here.
I was just like, I'm like, Mike, bro, who are you, bro? Who are you? Did you seriously like heal your whole face in like 7 days? And he's like, well, he's like, my wife's really on me. She's like, you got to keep it moisturized and you got to make sure you're hydrated. I was like, you guys are a power couple. You guys, I mean, dude, that looked terrible a week ago. Like, I thought, like, I felt so bad. I was like, damn. I'm like, I wish he would have just gotten like done sooner. Like if I'm gonna win, let me knock him out clean and no cuts. But when I seen the guy, I'm like, dude, you might not have a mark when you're done. And considering there's that many stitches and it looked like that before, I'm like, did you go to like the best freaking surgeon on earth? Like this is some good stuff.
I get a scratch on my hand and it takes like a week and a half to heal. I mean, he's healing
Yeah,
like that, and that's insane. I mean, when you think about that, I mean, he must be like
dude,
Wolverine. Or something. Just crazy. He's a Marvel
yeah,
character or something
yeah. I
like
got a
that.
scratch on my chest swimming a while back. And I look like I got open heart surgery. A little tree scratched me, and I'm like, for like years, people were like, "Bro, did you have heart surgery?" I'm like, what the hell's going on with my body? I'm like, this is crazy. But yeah, Mike's over here looking like he did, and then you literally with his shades on can't tell. With them off,
Wow,
it looks like just like a little scratch, and I'm just like,
really? Wow.
you're something
What
else,
does that
bro. I'm
what
like,
does that say about you guys where you can get into a fight like that in your professional sport and then a week later you're hanging out at the mall?
it takes a strong mentality. There's a reason that we're both world champions, man. There's a reason,
Mm,
and it's because we understand how to separate your emotion from the event. We just want to know who's better. At the end of the day,
mm,
we're not weak minded. We ain't got to get mad at somebody to go and smash them. We're just like, hey, I think I'm better than you. No, I think I'm better than you. All right, sign a contract. Let's find out. Oh, you're right. You were better than me. And I had to say that to Lorenzo. I'm like, shit, you're better than me, bro. Don't hate you. I mean, we chatted up. We talked for like 30 minutes the other day. And it's
mhm,
just a sport, it's professional,
mm.
and the stoic ones they can keep it professional. And Mike is as stoic as it gets, and his whole family is. I mean, they are real people, and I really appreciate that. But yeah, we
He
re- we enjoy the sport for what it is. No point in making it extra dramatic.
mhm. He wants to fight at 165 now.
He's
I
gonna go.
worry for those I worry for those people.
Yeah,
Uh, like that's if what he's doing at what he did at 85. I mean, to go to 165, if he can make the weight comfortably, that's that's serious shit. I mean, I know you said 175 first, but then his goal is 165, and that's I remember he fought at 155 in MMA. So, but looking at the post fight, you mentioned Mike Perry. I know he said he was in your DMs in the post fight, and then I have talked to a couple of other fighters in your division who obviously want a piece. I talked to Jomi Escobosa. I did talk to Jared Warren at his fight in Clearwater.
oh
There's
yeah.
obviously some situation there that we'll get into, but going on Mike Perry, eh, what did he say? I mean, what have you had run-ins with him before in conversation, any events, and or was this a surprise to you that he's in your DM saying, I want to punch you in the face" type of thing?
I've never talked to Mike before, but I knew that he was planning on calling out the winner. He was like messaging Mike, messaging me, and it was like, hey, he's like, I wanted that belt. And so when like the night before he and Mike and I fought, Perry was in my inbox, just like, hey man, I hope you win, so I could punch your little face. And I'm like, dude, I always thought I had a big face. This dude's like taking all these snaps of like fireworks going off, and he's like, this is what I'm gonna do to little face. And I'm just sitting here like, God damn, I had a complex thing. I had a big ass face over here. I'm like, whatever. I'll take it as a compliment. I don't know if he's projecting or what, but nah, he hasn't responded to any of my messages. I'm just like, bro, is this serious or what? I'm like, I'm down. I'm like,
I
I
mean,
thought you wanted the belt.
you posted I think you posted some memes or something on Instagram, like where's he at type of thing, because I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, he's he's really well known and all that stuff, but I mean, you're a huge guy. I mean, you said I think you said you walk around at 195, 200. You look bigger than that to me. I mean, but
Yeah, no, I walk
like,
around at about 210. Yeah,
okay,
I'm
okay.
210, and then I'm up to 85, and then I usually like hydrate back up to like 205, maybe 206.
Yeah.
So I'm a big 85er. I've been wrestling since I was 13, so I understand how to you know, do the weight cut, and it works perfect for bare knuckle because if you do it right, you don't have to have as much cardio, and that's what I've been like trying to like explain to a few people is this is not a marathon sport. This is a sprint sport. You need to be able to gear up and gear down quick. You know,
Mhm,
that's all that matters. I mean, this ain't a 12-round boxing fight. It's not MMA with grappling and things that are going to tear your gas tank up. It's just boxing, man. Like it's just
mhm,
boxing, and if you knock them out in round one, it's better. Two is great. Round four starts sucking, but you know that's very rarely that if you build the kind of power you need to finish most of your guys around one, most of the time you ain't going around four. But it is what it is, man. Mike made me remember. He's like, oh shit, I was feeling pretty tired after those two flurries, which he ate completely and fought me off of them with right hooks. Like I backed up, and then like the second one we ended up clenching at the end. But I'm like, I was in there just dropping bombs, just fucking bop, 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 bop. And then he's coming over with that right hand like a scorpion tail. Like, I don't think he looked at my chin once. He just starts smashing me. And then I'd miss like three punches because I'm rocked. And then I'm like, oh, yeah, there he is. Bam, bam, bam. Then that scorpion tail. I'm all like, has this guy ever missed a right hook in his life? I'm like, give me a break over here. And like, I'm sitting here trying to finish this dude. And he's just like, he's eating some of these shots. And I'm blasting him. My hands are feeling like they're breaking. And then here comes that right hook again. Boom. And I'm like, am I even rocking this guy? Now I'm wanting to back up. And I got him against the ropes. And I'm just like, why is this dude not going down? And I'm getting hella tired. If he survives this, he's going to come after me and snipe me. I'm like, frick. It was not fun fighting that man. So at 65, he's gonna murder some people. Because I mean, I'm gonna tell you right now, I hit hard as hell, and there's nobody at 65 that is gonna hit him as many times as hard as I did.
mhm,
If he hadn't got those cuts, man, that could have been a different story. Round 4 and 5 could have been different. It could have been different. He was starting to gain traction in round 4 with those hooks and like that,
mhm,
those crosses and everything. So, man, I
mhm,
dumped my whole load on him in round 4, hoping to finish him. And when that ref called it, I was like, thank God, because the next round and a half would probably not be ideal if he's still kind of fresh. Because I tried to
mhm.
finish it. I saved everything and I dumped it all, and I was like, that was enough.
No, I appreciate your transparency because that's I mean most people would never admit that in the fighting game they're like I was good, I was good, I was good. It's just the some people psychologically have to tell themselves that they were good all the time. You mentioned in the Brian Socha show, and I watched that too. You protected him, and then he told on himself after. I don't know if you saw that. You mentioned the guy higher up came into your locker room and said, "Well, we don't want to see this. I've watched all your fights." The headbutt situation with Joe Riggs, it was you both came in at the same time. Your hand was coming to punch him, but your head hit him first. But his head hit your head, and obviously you have a harder head, I guess. And he went loopy. The Warren fight again. I didn't see. So he comes in and says this to you, and then Dave Feldman tells himself says it. I walked into his locker room before, and how do you adjust your game plan? Because I mean, you're rough, you're rugged, but that's what bare knuckle fighting is to me. What did you do to adjust yourself, and the evolution of a fighter, and how you're able to do that like that?
Yeah, so a lot of people don't understand this, but the higher fight IQ you have, the better. And I'm going to toot my own horn here. I watch a lot of video and I study a
Mhm,
lot of the greats, and I've added a lot of their weapons into my arsenal, and I don't reveal them in every fight.
mhm,
I've got a lot of tricks up my sleeve, but I'll mask it in this brutal, dominant, like I'm just going to run forward kind of style. And most people miss, like when I'm charging in, I'll typically like hit a footwork drill like right at the end. So it looks like I'm coming straight. Now I'm behind you and I'm smashing, and now you're adjusting. And it's a lot of like luck that people like attribute that to. But that was literally what I wanted to cloud my style in, is I wanted people to look at me and think, that's a lucky dude. He's just a brawler. He's big for the division. And it's like, nah, I'm bigger and faster for the division. I'm not just a brawler. I'm a counter striker, pressure puncher. I'm all these things, but I I mask it in like this caveman-y style, and I just get in there, and so people don't prepare for me properly. Every fighter I talk to will tell me, dude, I thought you were going to come at me this way. I thought you were going to do this. I thought you were going to do that. And it's like, exactly. Whatever my last fight was, is what you're probably going to be expecting. So that's not what you're going to get. And, for this last fight, I was planning on, just, trying to start a flurry, get him up against the ropes, meat hook his neck. And then I was going to start feeding him uppercuts. And I'd been working uppercut drills for, months at this point with kettlebells. Like I was going to do a lot of damage in the clinch. So whenever I was, asked, hey, don't ragdoll him across the ring. We want to keep it clean, professional. We're not trying to get into no contests. And, and even though I would say that I think the majority of those no contests were very accidental, and it's always a southpaw that I'm fighting, right? I'm an orthodox fighter. I do switch, but I'm always fighting southpaws. They say that there's only 10% of the population are southpaws, but they own 90% of the championships. So I'm the southpaw slayer. I've never lost to a southpaw, but that's because I apply that pressure. I figure why beat all the orthodox guys in the world whenever I know the southpaws are just going to beat all of them. So I'll just train for these damn southpaws. And you look at all my fights, I've only had like one or two orthodox dudes in the last 7 years. So I'm like, yeah, we're gonna fast track this. And so, when you throw your right hand against a southpaw, you lean your head off to the left so that they don't smash you with their cross. And when they throw their left, they lean their head off to their right, which is the same direction that you're going. So you avoid each other's power hands, and then unfortunately the head clashes there. So that unfortunately was terrible. But with the Warren fight, that was I threw a flurry right at the end. Yeah, I'm sure you saw that. I landed a beautiful uppercut right away, and then I threw a left cross miss, and then I was coming back with the hook to finish him because he's already dropping, and the bell rang on the way there. And according to the rules, if the punch has already been fired, then it's good. If the bell rings and then you fire a punch, yeah, unfortunately you're out of luck. But as I fired the punch, it was coming at him, and then I don't know if he saw the punch or he just flinched, but he starts looking away from the punch, and then it hit slightly behind his head. And so I was just like, okay, they called it late punch and after the bell, which according to the rule books, it wouldn't be classified as a late punch. And because he looked away and changed where my punch landed, it wouldn't be classified as behind the head. But regardless, that's what it was called. And so I got the no contest on that one. So this stigma of being a dirty fighter has popped up when I am a high aggression, high pressure fighter, but my accuracy usually allows me to be pretty clean. But unfortunately, you get two no contests, and then all of a sudden you're the dirty guy. And I'm just like, I mean, I was hitting the head twice by Jared Warren, on camera very hard. And I didn't cry, I didn't stop, I didn't bitch. I just handled business. And I never got any calls for me. And so I'm just like, in this sport, you're gonna catch a bad hit occasionally. And the type of person you are, I mean, I accidentally poked Mike in the eye in this last fight. Everybody saw that. And I was like, I was so embarrassed. I'm like, shit, man. Like I had this open hand style because I'm parrying. I'm like a big time parry fighter. And I accidentally poked him in the eye. And I seen it. And I seen him grab his eye right away, and I was like, "Fuck!" I backed up, and I was like, "Give him all the time he needs." I'm like, "I fucked up on this one," and he took less than 30 seconds, and he was back. And so I was just like, "That's a fucking champion right there," And you just don't do that every day. So yeah,
So I was in Clearwater. I actually covered the BKFC Clearwater fight, and I did talk to Jared Warren after the fight. And I mean, bluntly, when I asked him about next week's fight that week, I said you'll be watching it, and he says, "Well, first, I think Dyer's a dick." Why? Where did this all stem from? I know there was some stuff that I heard you say in another podcast, but where did this all? You fought him in your first fight, you won. You have this next fight that you guys fought a couple years later, and you mentioned, I guess the bruise went from here to the back of his head or something like that, like the bruise carried. I think you mentioned in the podcast. But
yeah.
why does he? Because
Oh,
I'm gonna tell
dude,
you right now, I'm
super
watching. I'm
harsh.
like, you seem like a very very nice, personable guy that gets along with everybody. What happened? That makes him feel that way.
Yeah. So basically, that night after the fight, before I got a chance to watch the video,
Mhm.
I believed I hit him in the back of the head after the bell. That's what I was told. And
Mhm.
I typically don't do that. I'm usually a very clean fighter. I usually try to stop before the ref says anything. Like I want to win clean. And so I just believed that I had done that. And so I walked over to him and I was just like, "Hey man," while we're in the ring, I'm like, "I'm sorry." I'm like, yeah, I thought it was clean. I thought but hey, if you feel like it wasn't clean, then no need to no continue. I'd rather you be healthy if we're gonna do this. We're the two best guys around, so let's heal up. We'll come back, we'll do this again. I don't want to win like this if this is the way it's gonna be. And then we went back to the press conference and I saw like it was just right here on his ear. Like he had was where the punch was delivered, and his
Yeah.
ear was still red. And so I was like, I thought, according to the
Mhm.
rule book, if any part of the punch touches the ear, then that's classified as a legal punch. And the back of the head is only like the thickness of a playing card along the spine. And so I was like, okay. I'm like, well, I'll have to watch the video and see. Well, that night after the next morning, the swelling had gone from that little spot on his ear to the complete backside of his head. It literally looked like I took a baseball bat to this dude and blasted him in the back of the head. And so I was just like, holy shit, that's nothing what it looked like last night. But they took this picture and they started spreading it around social media, being like, yeah, this is the punch that, ended the fight. And I'm like, hey, that's a little disingenuous. I was there that night. I can see on camera that the punch lands clean and it had been spread. So that's a little bit that kind of that sucked a little bit. But anyways, I wasn't trying to be a sore loser. I was just like, hey man, I'm like, let's just keep running. Like when I will come back and do this, my understanding was that this is going to be very soon. Like we were going to get back in the ring, we were going to fight for that title because nobody got it that night. It was vacant. So I'm like, dude, let's do it. Like
Yeah.
we're the guys. Let's get it. And and he ended up. He's like, well, I don't really want to do this, and I'm just like, I understand, but I have a habit of getting sat on my butt for a year at a time. And they do this to a lot of fighters, like in this situation. So I'm just like, I mean, I don't want you to have to wait for a year. I don't want to have to wait for a year. Let's just hop back in and do it. And he ended up blocking me once I started talking shit on his posts. I went over there and I made myself look like a dick to some of his fans on his page. So that way he could like fire back and then they could come and have his back. And I was just like, this is going to be the way we get this thing rolling. And if you have to in this sport, you can't
Yeah.
just rely on waiting for your phone to ring anymore. It's a business. You got to reach out.
Mhm.
And and he ended up blocking me on everything and then just disappearing. And I ended up flying down to catch him at I think it was the Hollywood fight. And I was just like, hey, what's up? And he's like, oh, dude, I can't pretend to be your friend anymore. And I was just like, well, I'm like, I thought we had an understanding. Like I thought that we were gonna try to get this to work, and then next thing you know, I'm blocked everywhere, and everything's gone, and I'm just like, well, I'm like, whatever, dude. I'm like, I feel like I did you a pretty big favor, personally. Like I thought we were gonna like have each other's backs, and then I'm like, apparently not. And then and he's just like, keep beating up old men. I'll keep holding on to this belt. And I was just like, I'm like, all right. And in the next fight, he fights what I would describe as an old man. So I'm like, hey, dude, it is what it is. Like I just say yes to everybody when they call me, I just say fucking yes, dude. And I asked them
Mhm.
on the phone. I was like, "Are you sure you guys want to do this?" Like, I mean, there's a lot of dudes that I could fight that would probably be better than this option here, and they're just like, "No, yeah, he's got to win already. This is what we're gonna do." And so I was like, "Okay." I'm like, I'm just the yes man. You guys tell me what you want, and I'll be there, and we'll make it work. And yeah, so I felt like Jared ducked me for like 2 years. This is like 2023, right? Or 2022 or something like that. And it's 2025. And I'm just like, yeah, it's 2023. And I'm just
Yeah. July.
like 2 years I never heard from this. And, and so now when he's like, hey, like I want this championship shot, I'm like, no shit. Of course you do. But what about me? You made me wait for fucking years and now like you expect me just to say yes right away for our trilogy? I'm like, nah, dude, I don't feel as if you deserve it. When I was in Hollywood, I spoke to his manager, Jihad, and I was like, hey man, I'm like, I'm not really sure what went down. Like I thought everything was cool. Like me and Jared have always been cool. It's like I was just trying to start drama. Like that's just what we have to fucking do. And they still sat me for
Mhm.
over a year. And and then he was just like, "Well, Josh, he's like Jared's the best fighter in the world. He's got the best resume on paper. He's beaten all these guys, all these wins." I'm like, "Yeah, and I beat him twice. So like, what does that say about me?" And he's like, "Well, that's not on paper, and you haven't had a win in a couple of years." I'm like, "Okay, well, that's the dumbest shit I ever heard." I'm like, "If somebody's a better fighter, they're a better fighter. If a fucking paper says you beat 1,000 dudes before this, but I beat you twice. Like, are you still better than me because your paper looks better?" I'm like, I don't fucking understand this mindset. And he was like, "Well, go train hard for a couple years, Josh." And I'm like, and then he's like, "And then maybe we'll give you a shot down the road, when your skills improve." And I just looked at him, I'm like, "Dude, you're not even gonna get past Richmond in 45 minutes." I'm like, bro. I'm like, if you guys happen to be Richmond, I'll be right there in the ring. I flew down here because I'm hopping in the ring after. So don't think I'm running when I jump in there with you. But then I'm like, but if Mike wins, I'm just gonna fucking chill. And so I ended up chilling, and it was a good night. Mike finished him in 46 seconds, or no, Mike beat him in 42 seconds. 42 seconds, 2 hits. And I'm just like, oh, yeah, skills, huh? Yeah, his skills are that good, I bet. Fucking doesn't even know how to keep his range on Mike. I'm like, bro, you fucking ran into him. You were doing great on the outside, and then you tried to be slick and close the distance and entered the mid range. Why would you do that, bro? You're one of the longest dudes in the division, 77-inch reach, insane power from a distance, and you're gonna close the
Mhm.
distance. And I was like, made a mistake there, bud.
Yeah, I mean, you kept range with Richmond as well. I mean, you were doing the the parrying thing and all that stuff where, so it wasn't like you were just jumping in. It was explosive jumping, but
Oh
you
yeah.
kept range there. You have to fight with, I mean, it's still a fight. And I mean, your fight with Richmond actually kind of looked at one point like a boxing match. It was like, this is the fight I expected to end in 2 minutes. I mean, I thought one of y'all was going to go out. I didn't know who, but I thought one of y'all was going to go. I'm like, someone's going to get caught because these guys are going to go attack each other. And then I'm like, wait, this is a boxing match, and that's why, and it's explained by what you mentioned. They came in and talked to you beforehand, and okay, understood now. Because I don't think that fight goes more than two to three, maybe 4 minutes. That wouldn't have lasted 4 rounds to me. Because of I've seen your style, and you're very, very aggressive. You hit hard. You hit hard as shit. Um, Jomi so Jared Warren, you're gonna make weight. Jomi Escobosa, I talked to him. He's like, I got the best record. I'm 10-2. I fought everybody. I know he has losses to Warren, but I mean, fighting math doesn't always equate. We've seen it. Guy beats that guy beats that guy beats that guy. It's all over the place. What are your thoughts on a fight against Jomi Escobosa potentially?
Yeah, I think it's definitely coming. I think there's only a few guys that are like really, I think, qualified at this point. Jomi, he's up there. I think that he deserves it, and so we're absolutely going to give him that opportunity. Um, then you got Jared still freaking chilling, fucking up here beating everybody else. And I'm just like, whatever, bro. Like, I'm not gonna run. I'll say yes, but you're just gonna wait a little longer, and that's personal. And it doesn't have to be this way. And
You're
you got Perry
you're
over there
playing
chilling. You got
you're playing hard to get.
yeah,
You're
playing
playing hard
hard
to
to
get.
get, Jared. And one of these days, if the price is right, I will consider another date with you. But this time, we're gonna have a few stipulations. It's gonna be in my hometown. All right. I'm like, you're coming to my hometown for the world championship fight with my fans, and they're gonna see what happens. You can hit me in the back of the head. I don't care. I'm like, they are not gonna see me quit. I'm like, not in my hometown. We don't do that shit.
You
We're
you
gonna
you live in
we're gonna show you
You
what's
live in
up.
You
But
live in Montana right now? You live in Montana, right? Where do you live
nope,
right now?
nope. I fought in Montana with Riggs. I think Riggs is from Montana, but I live in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. So
Okay,
I'm
got you.
over here in the heart of the Midwest, just chilling over here. We got a bunch of rain, as you can see in our truck. It's rainy
Yeah.
everywhere out here. So
Uh-huh.
luckily, I'm painting inside today, so I don't got to worry about that.
Have they ever had a card up there in your hometown for BKFC?
Not in my hometown. No, which would be great because they've done Omaha, which is like 3 hours away, and
Mhm.
Minneapolis. I believe they did Minneapolis, and so we're right here. We got about 200,000 people here. We got a center that holds, I want to say, 10,000 or so. So I mean, we got a good population. I'm developing a pretty good fan base out here. I know we'd pack the stadium. So yeah, I'm like, yeah, might as well. The closest is Sturgis. We did Sturgis with
Yes.
Wild Bill last August, and that was cool. That was big as hell. But it's still kind of like 5.5 hours away. So I would love to have an event in my hometown at some point. And I mean, we're growing. You know, And plus, there's no state tax here, so you might as well come and make some money. I'm like,
I
we'll
live
make it
in
work.
Florida. We have no state tax either, which is great. Also, I live in Florida, so
Oh
I'm
yes, we did it.
yeah, I'm in South Florida, so I'll be at the Hard Rock on July 12th for that fight as well. I do want to ask you a question. You were in MMA actually prior to coming over to BKFC. What made that change happen for you? I mean, obviously you mentioned, you know, there's other things in MMA. Obviously, you were 4-4. I saw. I don't know if that was the correct record I saw on Tapology, and you had a nickname back then. Do you remember that nickname? They have a nickname for you as Kendall.
I've been trying to forget that nickname.
Come on, that's a handsome guy nickname. I mean, what are you talking about? I mean, well, I mean, what made you
Yeah,
transition
for
from
some
MMA
reason,
to
I used to work at
jiu-jitsu?
Applebee's.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I worked at Applebee's back when I was going to college, and all I had was high school wrestling, and I was trying to make some money while going to school. And one of the
Hmm.
cooks, Doug Jenkins, was training fighters out of the kitchen of his house. And so he was like, "Hey, man, you ever thought about like cage fighting?" And I'm like, "Hell yeah, I thought about cage fighting." I'm like, "Let's give this a shot." And so we went over to our training, and like one of the servers at Applebee's, she started calling me Malibu for like 6 months, and then pretty soon everybody was calling me Malibu. No fucking idea who Malibu was. I thought they were talking about some like, comedy movie, and which I hadn't seen. And so then one day I was like, why the hell has everybody been calling me Malibu here? And they're like, oh, like Malibu Ken, like you're like a Ken doll. And I was like, oh, I was like, okay. I'm like, thanks. I'm like, appreciate that. And then everybody at the gym started calling me Ken Doll because they're like, yeah, you look a little Ken Doll. And so I was like, oh, that's funny. I didn't correct anybody. I just let them do it. And pretty soon people were like, wait, your name's Josh? I thought your name was literally Kendall. I was like, no, bro, like it's Josh Dyer. And and so then when I went to do like my fifth MMA fight, they're like, hey, you got to pick a nickname. And I'm like, honestly, I never really liked nicknames. I always thought nicknames were like the tougher the nickname, the weaker of a fighter you were. So I was like, I'm just Josh, man. I'm just here to whoop some ass. And like, well, if you don't pick one, we're gonna pick one for you, and we're gonna call you the pretty boy. I'm like, well, don't fucking do that. I was like, because then if I lose, I'll look super conceited. I'm like, don't do that. And so then my gym put me down as Ken Doll, and then they changed my song from Lil Wayne to Barbie Girl. And so then I come walking out to Barbie Girl for a championship fight in like in Fury Fights promotion, and I was just like, this isn't my song. And they're like, no, it is your song. I'm like, no, no, it's definitely Knockout by Lil Wayne. This must be his song. So neither of us are walking out, and I'm just like chilling, and my gym's just laughing. They're like, no, bro, we changed your song. This is you. And I was like, you motherfuckers, like, you better not lose. And so I went out, beat them, won a title, and then from that moment on, they'd always change my song to the whatever the most feminine song is. They would change it to that, and then just like fuck with me. And then they'd be like, all right, you better not lose now. You can't lose to I Need a Hero by Bonnie Tyler. You can't lose to Fireflies by Owl City. Oh, you can't lose to Call Me Maybe by Carly Rae Jepsen. They're like, you better not. And I was just like, oh my God. I'm like, you guys. And so I got kind of like popular in the Midwest for like just not taking things seriously. Like I just walk out, I'm laughing. I went 10 years undefeated in a town around here. My amateur career was never put online because it was non-sanctioned, unfortunately. And so I was
Yeah,
like 17-2, ranked number 2 in the Midwest. I fought a lot of guys, and it was just a good time. And I enjoyed just not taking things too seriously, and so it kind of made it kind of fun. Now I'm here, so
do you
not
remember
everything's got to be
seeing
serious.
do you remember seeing the Mike Perry fight where he was coming out to a song in the UFC and it was the wrong song, ended up being a Taylor Swift song, I think it was, and he just got into that song. It was like kind of sounds like
You
that, where
have to.
yeah,
Yeah,
he's like
I've heard the
just
story. I missed
embraced
that
it.
fight.
Yeah, it was one where
Yeah, you have to.
he starts singing the song. He's like, "That's not my what the fuck is this?" He starts singing this shit. He's like, I mean, God, what was that? What was that? Wait, what was? I know the words in my brain. Knock me out. Na, 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 na. I'm on the eye of the
Eye of the tiger.
tiger.
Yep. Katy
Dancing with the
Perry.
fire. Yes, that one. You're gonna
You're
hear
gonna
me
hear
roar.
me roar.
I mean,
Oh
I thought that
yeah.
was hilarious. Mike Perry's a character, and when you see that, you just embraced it. What you want to fight? When do you want to fight? We're in May. Your hand is still swollen. It needs to heal, obviously. I know Sturgis is around the corner. You want to fight in your hometown. Is there a timetable for you? And I mean, Sturgis is only like what, 2 months away, 2.5 months away. Is there a timetable you have right now, between obviously healing, getting back in the gym to train? I'm sure you're still training, but you can't really punch anybody right now with your hand with it swollen, or maybe you can. What do you have in? What is your timetable right now?
I'm thinking probably like 4 to 6 months ish. I don't think I'm going to make Sturgis. I talked to my manager about it, and he's just like, probably we'll be better to wait like a few more months, and then we'll get something
Mhm,
better lined up. And
mhm.
I'm like, cool, that sounds good to me. I'm like, we got a couple local fighters that are going to be fighting on the Sturgis card, so I'll go support them, say hi to everybody, and try to have a good time with that. But I'm assuming, August, September, October. I could see an October fight happening. Definitely something before the end of December. But we'll just kind of tweak as we go. So as long as I get a decent heads up, I'm excited. Like as long as I get a chance to have a full camp, I'm going to go out there, handle business. It's going to be good. And they've been really good about that. So I know some of these guys just love jumping on a card with 2 weeks notice, but I'm like, I've done that enough times in my career to understand that those fights come with consequences, and you're never ready. You never are ready. And so that's when you find out, oh yeah, he's not just a boxer. He wrestles for Team Georgia. We forgot to mention that. It's like, shit. All right. And I didn't train for that. So yeah, the fight
Well,
business is funny.
if you're the champ now, so you call the shot as to what when you fight. When and right now they haven't talked to you yet about who your next fight is or had that conversation because there's obviously a list of guys,
Nope.
you know.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
They got their own list. We'll see.
mhm. Folks, Josh, I appreciate your time. You've been sitting on the side of the road with me now for 40 minutes. Yeah, I know you got to get to the job, man. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Josh D-Day Dyer, man. He's the light heavyweight champion of BKFC. And he's going to go to work right now because I mean this man's a worker and he's going to he brings that lunch pail bucket mentality. He's going to come fight, throw down, put on a show, and go spend some time with the family. Go bring the belt
Hell
to the
yeah.
school. I know I saw you brought the belt. I heard you brought the belt to the school with your
I
kid, your
did do
kid.
that. Yeah.
That is
Pick
the
my kids
dopest
up.
shit
They love
ever.
that shit.
If I'm the kid, I'm like, my dad will kick your dad's ass.
Somebody had to assert dominance. Might as well be
Like,
me. Like,
but man, congratulations. I mean, long time. I mean, lengthy career. You've reached that mountaintop, which is what you always dream and envision of. So, man, tremendously happy for you. Congratulations, brother. And I thank you for jumping on with me today, folks. This is Josh D-Day Dyer, by heavyweight champion BKFC. Be sure to check. I'll link Josh's social media in the description. But again, thank you, sir. I appreciate you. And God bless, folks. This is Combat Corner, powered by Come On Now, the podcast. Come on now.
Up and down through the blood and the sweat. Guarantee you can know I'm a threat. Up and down through the blood and the sweat. And I ain't close to being done yet, I'm going all in.